My brothers and sisters in Christ, on Tuesday in the Gospel, we heard Jesus teach his disciples the perfect prayer, that is, the Lord's Prayer or the Our Father. And he reminded them not to be like the pagans, to babble in prayer before the Lord or to do it to be seen. And I use that as an occasion to reflect upon the fact that we often have good intentions, but we err in our attempts to improve in the spiritual life by looking at prayer in quantitative and qualitative measures. And what do I mean by that? Well, quantitatively, we think, well, if I just pray more, then that means I have a better spiritual life. If I pray more minutes than I did the day before, then I prayed more, and that's a better thing. And then qualitatively, we think of different forms of prayer, getting better at prayer. Doing this is a better form of prayer. But instead, we don't need to necessarily, although praying more is a good thing, and there's certainly good forms of prayer, we don't need to so much pray more or better, but we need to pray more truly. If prayer at its core is an intimacy to approach God, to speak to God, to pour out our heart to him, and to listen to him, then that is what great prayer looks like. Whatever the means, however long, whatever form, if we are completely open, if we are present to God in our wholeness and in our need, and we listen to him. Well, today's readings present the next kind of step in that. We offer our prayer, and what is the response, or what is the follow-up on our part? And to set this up, we hear it in a couple different forms. The first reading gives us a piece of the story of Queen Esther. And as a quick refresher, Queen Esther is a king to the Persian king Ahasuerus or Xerxes in the time after the Babylonian exile. And the Jewish people in the region are in a bad spot because kind of the right hand, the chief steward of the king, is seeking to exterminate the Jewish people. And King Esther is put in a spot where the people are asking her to plead on their behalf, and she knows either she can do nothing and all of the people and perhaps even her get killed, or she can intervene through political means using her power as queen, but that itself might cost her her head. And so we hear in the first reading her prayer to the Lord for deliverance from this hardship, this trial. Now, in the psalm and the same thing, we hear the words of earnest prayer. In the gospel, we hear Jesus speak of the generosity of the Father. And he says, ask and you shall receive, knock and the door shall be open to you. Words that we've heard in many forms across the gospels. And he then cites the fact that the Father, if we know how to our children give good gifts, how much better the Father, the true Father in heaven, will give good gifts to us. As a way of saying, ask and the Father will give you. Well, sometimes we struggle with this in prayer because it seems like, it can feel like my prayers go unanswered. I pray and God doesn't do anything. But the mode in which he responds, the generosity, is that of a father. So towards this end, if we think of a parent of a small child that loves their child and wants the best things for them, you can do two things at once and the child won't recognize them the same way. A good parent gives wonderful, loving gifts to their child, and at times their loving action will be something the child will perceive as bad. Forcing them to take their medicine, making them go to the doctor, do these different things that will upset. Now, these are loving actions too, and they're done from the love of the Father's heart. But the child may not perceive them as such. The child may even perceive that their parent is being mean or ignoring their desires. But all of this is wrapped up in a parent's responding love to the need of their child. And so it is for us in prayer. True prayer is making our needs known to God, listening to the response. And when we don't understand the response, all we need to know, if nothing else, is to rest assured in faith that the Father will respond in a loving fashion to our prayer. That prayer may be to answer it in the form we ask, it may be to do nothing, it may be to respond in a way different than expected, but whichever form this takes, it is because it's the loving response. We approach the Father in intimacy by making our needs known, by crying out to him, and the Father in his love responds, always, always, in the way that is best for us. And so, may we truly ask, knock, and let the door be open to us in prayer. May God bless you all.